Well, now that's an impersonator, but clearly when you take a look at that, and with some tweaks, you could actually make it really look like it was Donald Trump saying those words. And of course, that could have repercussions on the news telling, process, as well as how the country can actually react to it. Now, I'll start with you, Alphonse. When you see this, does it scare you?
Oh, it scares me partly, but it's the kind of stuff that this is my job, daily job.
Yes.
So the job is to fact check and tell people if this is true
real,
or this is
fake.
not true. And some of the things that we have seen this, and we looked at it, and most people looking at it, knowing the history and the narrative around Zuma and his intellectual capabilities, they would think it's accurate.
I relent to a smear campaign of him, because if you have people who, your opponents, and this just lends to their position politically. So as somebody who works determining what is fake and what's real, okay, first of all, just define what is a deep fake, because we have fake news and then we have deep fake. What are deep fakes?
So a deep fake, I would say it's a video usually where the face of the person has been manipulated by artificial intelligence, so that you have the person, you have an image or a video of a representation of the person that is not actually the person, saying things that the person is not actually saying in the voice that appears to be the voice of the real person. So it's all technology, and it is somewhat becoming very accurate right now, and it's being fine-tuned by the people who are creating this. Some of it is being created because of the advertising, and a lot of it is being created because of nefarious reasons.
Because I was about to ask, is there a good use for deep fakes? Can you use it for good?
Yes, you can use it for good. You can create that for advertising. For educational purposes, for gaming reasons. There are a lot of uses that are not necessarily malicious.
It brings to mind some of those videos that you see online, maybe on Instagram or Facebook, of a baby dancing like an adult. It seems very real, it's entertaining, no harm, but then when it gets to a certain point, then of course we find it being a concern. Now I would like to throw it over to you, Dr. Kamau. When you're now educating your students, the landscape is changing, and the things they're dealing with. When I was in campus, I was being told about fake news. Now we are having deep fakes. It's even evolved. It's taking a different shape every time. Now, how are you changing your ways of teaching to incorporate this into what the students need to watch out when they're out in the...
Thank you very much. I think this is a timely conversation, especially given recent incidences that we have seen in our country. It's also important because of the confusion that comes, especially to members of public when they see these things and they don't have the capacity to distinguish between what is real, what is fake, what is being manipulated. The other thing, of course, is the intention of people who do this manipulation and what they hope to achieve. I think one of the things that we have seen, and specific now to your question in terms of what we are doing teaching. For example, my university specifically focuses on training journalists, and what we have done, of course, partly working with people like Alphonse and other people who are in the fact-checking space, of course, is to build the fact-checking and verification, skills and processes to make sure that journalists are aware. But I think even much more important in where this conversation comes in is because the journalists will do their part, the fact-checkers will do their part, but we also need some, kind of education, awareness campaigns among the public to ensure that they will be able to at least question, between or when they receive information, just the ability to question, to ask a few questions, so that even as the journalists do their work and the fact checkers, do their work, at least there is a receptive, public. But those information sessions and creating some awareness, we've held some kind of, round tables. We've done some work with Alphonse in Uganda, in Rwanda, trying to basically sensitize the public, civil society organizations around issues that relate to misinformation and disinformation.
Now, speaking of sensitizing the public, when you take a look at how fast, and I know Mr. Shundu, you can attest to that, how fast fake news spreads, especially with social media, it's like a wildfire. Now, you're just a team, and not many, because we know how Africa is. We're not really advanced in terms of certain areas and educating our public, and of course our reach can be limited because of that. So how do you deal with this challenge? Because it would take a minute before everybody learns how to distinguish between real news and fake news. And now we're having the videos that look like, so you know, we were trained to know, not officially in schools, but growing up, you see it on TV, it happened. This is why TV is so good, because when you see it, it's the truth. So now we are seeing things that are not even the truth, but they look so similar to the truth. So where do we even start?
So what we usually say is, if you see something and it's very exciting and it makes your emotions, so it either makes you very angry or it makes you very happy. You have to pause and stop and question it. So when you look at the video that you just showed about Obama, and you can see Obama is speaking, and then
if a white nationalist watched a video where Barack Obama was talking about one of their websites being right, they'd be very happy. They'll be like, you see.
Yes, because it confirms their ideologies, their inclinations. So they are likely to agree with it. And
but then the fact that it's making them happy from an unlikely source, now that's the red flag, right?
Now they actually, that makes them share it, and that makes people like, even the people who don't agree with Obama necessarily, they would see that at last Obama has
agreed with us.
You know, when he does that, and that is something that would make people think about it as something which is real. And for a fact checker, what we try to tell people is, think about it. When you see something, you have to think critically about it. So for the video, you could have watched the mouth and then listen to the sound that's coming out. And sometimes that's an old video, so there are tools which you can search and see, oh, is this a new video, is this an old video? So there's a way you can actually verify videos and get to the original source.
And I guess it has to do with being in tune with what's happening in the news. So you know that Barack Obama is not right now active in politics, and definitely not going out to give statements. You had something to say?
I wanted to chip in on the question in terms of the spread of fake news and misinformation. I think we acknowledge, because of technological sophistication, or maybe I could start in terms of just creating, misinformation and disinformation outcomes. Of course, there are people who have different reasons and motives for creating these.
Absolutely.
But the fact that social media platforms and, the other platforms that are coming up, including WhatsApp and the rest, have given us the ability, to spread and share information rather fast. And I think that is something we'll continue dealing with. Again, because of technological sophistication, we can create, much more now when you talk about deepfakes, the ability to spread and share that information. But I think of great concern, and what is important, and this is where we need to focus on the role of several people. Number one, of course, the journalists, because we want to believe it is pursuit of the truth, making sure that you're availing this information to the people, to the public. But the second issue, of course, is we have seen the emergence of people you would call, fact checkers, like Alphonse, which has basically evolved as is part of journalism, or has risen from journalism, which is important. They are playing a critical role. But I think what I see as even more important is when information is shared out there that is inaccurate. You also see some, I don't call them ordinary Kenyans, but people who ask questions, or people who attempt to break down these issues and say this thing could be fake because of these several reasons. And that is what I was saying, some kind of public awareness that builds these in people. And we did something just before the 2017 elections, at our place at Aga Khan with Alphonse and a number of people. And what happened after that is, because of that, the journalists who attended and members of the public, at least the next time you see something that you're not sure about, you can question it. So in terms of trying to deal with this, we'll not just leave this to the journalists and the fact checkers, but we want to bring other people on board. Of course, there are also people who will be interested in using fake news to delegitimize also things that are true and that are accurate. But I think it's having these kinds of sessions, and I think it has taken quite some time for us to have this conversation. While we've seen so many issues that are coming up where people or some recordings are shared and people say that was not me, but on the other hand, the public, you know, could be excited about this or could believe that this is actually true because it sounds true. So having these information sessions, I would consider them very important as a way of trying to counter these things that are coming up.
Right, and now I would like Mr. Shiundu, if you could just go into how to tell them apart. Yeah, because you did point to the Obama clip and you said that this could be something from back in the day, and then it's been taken, and then just a section of his face. If you look at his mouth, it seems a bit odd. It's not really the Obama mouth that you know. So if I could tell us, how can someone go ahead, just from a visual perspective, how can they go about trying to tell the difference between a real and fake video?
So this is one of the topics that we had a discussion with our colleagues from the Washington Post as global fact checkers. So the thing is, when it comes to videos, there are multiple ways in which the videos can be altered.
Yes.
So sometimes somebody picks a video and then they misrepresent it. So right now, if you see a video where the videos of pre-2017, when the president and the opposition leader were at odds, and somebody plays that video and says it happened today. So somebody who can say handshake in trouble and then just posts it on Facebook. So we specialize in that. So if we see it on Facebook, we are part of the Africa Check is part of the third-party fact-checking network under Facebook, and the project entails us cleaning up the platform. So we point out fake stories, false information, and the platform downgrades the circulation by up to 80%.
Okay.
So that's the kind of thing we do. So how does a person sitting wherever they are sitting decide that, okay, I have to see this video and it looks fake? So the two things, it's always have your mind switched on. That's just it. So when you're looking at a video and the lip syncing is a bit not accurate.
And by lip syncing, it means the connection, the correlation between the sound and the visuals, the movement of the lips. If he's saying White House and the lips are just completely off, then that's a red flag.
Yes, then that you must know that there is something off about it. Then the second bit is there are audio profiles. That nowadays there are companies that specialize in collecting audio profiles of people. So if you hear a voice and you want to confirm that this is actually Trix who's saying that, then you can actually try to get the audio and put on the audio profile, and then you will see if it's a match or it's not. Yes, when it comes to videos, there is another software which is
what's the name of the audio?
The audio software. It's you just use sound booth, but then when you bring it to the other one is proprietary it's proprietary, so I wouldn't want to do the advertising for them. Yes, and then with the audio you'll put on sound booth, and then sound booth will give you a profile, and then you will see the profile on the other one. Yes, but for the video one, there is a tool by Amnesty International which now gives you sort of screenshot. It freezes the frames of video, and then when you put it on Google reverse image search, it can show you where that frame appeared before. So you can know that.
So you can get the original video
from just looking at it. And as Sam was saying, these are some of the things, the discussions that we had in our media literacy clinics before the 2017 elections, and the ongoing ones over the last year, 2018 and early this year, where the idea was just to tell people that, okay, we know there is a lot of false information going around, and we want you to be tuned in. So we demonstrated these tools when we were training them, and we showed them how they work and how to use them.
I wish I had asked you to bring them.
I could have brought them and just demonstrated quickly.
Perhaps another day we can do that, the demonstration, so that we can just lay bare what it means and to identify and what it takes. Now, when you said you always have your mind switched on. The first thing that came to mind was that have your information so that when something crops up that is out of place, then you can actually say that this information is odd, because I've been reading articles and I've been following this story, and it seems like this just stands out as pretty crazy. Don't you agree, Dr. Kapo?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to say one of the important things, and from what Alphonse has seen, you've seen in terms of the sophistication in creating, and disseminating these, pieces of misinformation and disinformation. There's of course also from what you're saying, sophistication in trying to debunk these.
Right.
But when you're thinking in terms of the ordinary person, and helping this person navigate through this terrain,
those websites, I think, probably did.
I think there are a couple of things. What you'd think, and in terms of the awareness campaigns, is what are the characteristics of something that you'd consider fake, or at least it raises a red flag, and I think that is important. For example, and he alluded to that, something could be inaccurate in terms of like a video, in terms of content or context. So it's important to be able to look at that. For example, if Alphonse, and I know Alphonse, if he was to say something that I consider out of character, it would help me think. And that is why he said earlier, things that are outrageous, things that excite you, things that would annoy you, things that would make you wonder before you are quick to embrace, and believe them. Because I always say, and Alphonse knows, every time we discuss misinformation or disinformation, I always refer to my 75-year-old father-in-law, who at some point used to believe that if you share something, as long as it's on the internet, then it's
true.
It's true.
And there are all these hoaxes.
Exactly. And because now we have very many people, our parents, our grandparents are now in the on WhatsApp and all that, being able to provide this information that not everything is true. It is important to pause and ask a question. It is important to reflect, but also to see what is the intention. When somebody presents this information, what do they want me to do? What do they want me to react? What would be the benefit? For example, if somebody leaks a particular, audio or video of a particular issue, do they stand to benefit by releasing this, and what do they want me to do? So getting the public to question, and that is the bit that that I keep insisting, getting the public to be a bit more discerning, and this is by ensuring that we are having these conversations over and over. We are talking about misinformation and disinformation. We're in an era of what we are calling information wars, because basically you release information, I release mine. And most important, and you have seen, I've always said that you see attempts to counter what is inaccurate. If you say something, about me that is false, if I come out and say that that is not true, people will most likely not believe me. They will still believe what you had said. Maybe what I could do is to introduce something that is even a bit more ridiculous. And I'll give you an example of something that happened. There was a letter that circulated, a couple of weeks back, that showed some amounts that were paid, was circulating on social media, that were paid for performance in a particular event in one of the counties. I think that's the northeastern counties. So as that was going around, the first day, a second one appeared that now, from a more, I would say, credible national institution that had something related to that. And all of a sudden, the focus died, on the first one, and now people are looking at this. And these are some of those strategies that people used to try and maybe throw us off. But basically just taking time to question and looking, for example, at, that letter, what's the information, what is missing, but also the role of journalists. And I think I used to love it when Alphonse used to have a session, I think, on KTN News every Sunday. Basically just to share information in terms of the stories that we are looking at, or even looking at the newspapers. I think I used to see some sections where basically you are tracking the big fake news or misinformation, pieces that have been going around, and highlighting them so that it also becomes part of the conversation. And of course, the work that Alphonse and team are doing, and the other fact checkers, also of stories that are posted online or on Facebook, and they are flagged that this has been fact checked and found to be inaccurate.
And it's stamped as fake. Now, I'm pretty interested also in determining that this is fake and this is real. Now, when you look at the source also, does that have something that would actually indicate to you that if the Standard Digital is not writing, this is not on the Standard Digital, but it's on a certain blog, then I should know that this is fake? Is that a way of determining, even though sometimes mainstream media falls prey to fake news?
It's usually That's it's easier if you do that, say, in print, or you do that
websites.
On websites.
Right.
But when it comes to video, there's a way it's manipulated. So there is a way. So you might say something here, like it's part of a larger conversation. We might say, for example, let me give an example that really happened.
Yes.
So when we were doing the fact check here,
right.
As we were introducing the fact check, the statement we were fact checking is that unemployment is at 70%.
Right.
Now, it was a political season.
I remember.
Somebody picked us introducing the statement that unemployment is at 70%. And shared it on video.
Wow.
Now it's the fact checkers saying it. So it's just a small section of a larger conversation that is being shared.
Yeah.
Now,
and you look at the whole video, it has the logo, you guys are in studio, so this must be real.
So, and it's written fact check.
Yes.
So we were just introducing. The claim was false at the end of it, but they did not bother about the verdict. They cut that piece and like it's a 10-second video and they share it.
Wow.
By the time people who did not watch a 5-minute clip of the fact check realize what's going on, the damage has already been done. And that is what people operating in this false information ecosystem want to achieve. Because for them, it's to create false news, make sure it travels far and wide quickly. And by the time we come with the fact check telling people that it's actually not true, that video is false, the damage has already been done. Because to undo, and it's just last week we wrote an article that yes, fact checking works.
Yes.
But our job is to update the beliefs of the people and tell them that you knew this before, but that is false.
Yes.
But we do not expect that everyone will believe what we say. Yes, but what we know is that when we put good quality, accurate information out there, more people are going to look at it, and as more, if you believe the wrong information, somebody else, Dr. Kamau here, would tell you, no, what you believe is false.
It's false, and this is why.
And this is why.
Yeah.
So those are some of the things that we do. The other thing that I would really want to mention, apart from the misrepresentation of videos and say the omission of, say, to create a false narrative, there is also the manipulation of a real video. So for example, when we have a video, it's not I haven't seen it in Kenya, but it happened. The example I was giving you from the discussions last night is that we had a video of the US Speaker, Nancy Pelosi.
Yes.
Now the video was slowed down, and so she appeared as if she was drunk.
Yeah, she was slurring her words.
Yes, and it's shared by
everybody. Yeah,
people.
that's hot news.
And when you think about it, it's a very dangerous trend if it's sort of imported into our political ecosystem.
Yes.
Yes.
And it has effects.
What's interesting is that I've seen, he says it has not happened in Kenya.
You have seen it?
I have seen, one here in Kenya. So, but I think just a quick one to chip in on what he is saying.
Yeah.
Two things relating to videos, and this is for the public.
Right.
I'm always suspicious when somebody sends me a video that only has 10 seconds, where something very interesting what you see, is shared. Because I always wonder what was said before and after, and I think that is one of the red flags for me, because if you just cut a specific, section
like
like
a paragraph from
a
a story,
exactly.
The rest.
I think that is important. The other thing, of course, are videos that are, where the speakers, are speaking in vernacular, and somebody provides a translation. Because I think we've also seen aspects of that. I think I would always be keen to talk to somebody now who speaks the original language to help me know whether this is true, because we have seen incidences where somebody is speaking in the vernacular, what we call mother tongue, but the translation is absolutely misleading, and it's intended, of course, to make me believe that Alphonse said these are meant to say this, and you can read them.
And therefore we should be unhappy with those people or whatever political inclination they want us to fall on. Now let's take a short break. When we come back, we look at what fuels fake news and the repercussions it could have, and why we should actually be looking out for these particular videos, audios and stories that are circulating on social media and mainstream media sometimes. Don't go too far.